Me, I didn't even know you were. I knew you were pretty cool, but I didn't know you were as cool as you were.
Oh,
That's
okay.
I started researching. I'm like, check this out. Um, so I did see in your when I was looking you up, you had a post about hip hop history. I can't read my writing. Seeding the culture in Arkansas.
Oh, I was on a panel. Maybe
Okay.
that's what you were looking at.
Yeah.
It was
Okay.
a hip hop panel about the history of hip hop, which that happened like last month I think, or
Yeah.
it was in
Mhm.
February or March. But
Mhm.
so it was talking about the history of hip hop and also the history of hip hop in Arkansas. So I know a lot of rappers and stuff just because of what I used to do all the time.
Mhm.
Plus, I know my resume keeps getting longer,
With
but
the poetry, is what you mean what you used to do all the time with the poetry and the film and the
being
play.
on the poetry scene and the play, it's like
Okay.
the rap community, it kind of meshes.
Okay.
So some of the guys I knew as poets were also rappers, and it just intermingled. Plus, around that time when I was doing my play, I started working at the radio station. So I was bringing in local rappers. And when I very first moved to Arkansas, and you might not remember this because you might not have been here back then, but I worked at a music store called Candlelight Music. And so I actually, prior to the poetry scene, when I worked at Camelot Music, um, I met a lot of people that love music. A lot of, back then everybody was coming in buying CDs and tapes and stuff. And so, because I moved here 20 years ago, so
Okay.
um, so I had met them then. So when I got on the poetry scene, the rap scene kind of runs parallel and intermingles a lot of times. And so once again, I'm meeting a lot of the guys and females that were hip hop artists in Arkansas. So when I started doing my plays, by going to different radio stations and being on those shows, I was asked to have a show, and so I jumped on it because what better way to promote your play than having your radio show?
All right.
So it was community radio though.
So your resume is getting longer.
So I jumped on the radio. I had a show called the Urban Hang Suite, and it was like alternative hip hop, R&B, poetry, and a bunch of other stuff. And so a lot of the rappers would come and be on my show. It didn't have to be a rapper. Like it could be anybody. Like I had Corto Mama Lou. She does the fashion.
Yes, from Project Runway.
Yes, before Project Runway, she was on there. There's a young lady that does salsa, Leah Patterson.
I don't know her.
I think she was from Chicago.
Not yet.
She's a black woman that does salsa dancing. She teaches it around here. I met her. She also has a natural makeup line. I had her on my show. So I would have basically anybody in the community doing something good, positive, we'll let them come on the show and I would interview them. And it wasn't visual, it was all on air.
Okay.
Like radio.
Okay.
And so a lot of people remember me from that. And so I was approached to do the hip hop, to be one of the women on the hip hop panel.
Okay.
From that background.
All right, that's good stuff.
So,
girl, check you out.
I used to do some things around here before I got old.
Well, now you can speak on it. You can help us. That's how you're able to pour back into the women, with these women programs and stuff like that. Because you've crossed the barriers that other people are considering, or even they're at that point now.
And some of those younger women that used to come on the poetry scene, that used to be like, "Oh, Coffy, I admire you." They're like doing some major things out here. So like if the baton has been passed, they have truly taken it to the next level. They're like Drika Wright, she was one, and she's now.
I saw her on the podcast. This guy is doing Demetrius.
Hedgewood, is that his name?
I think it's with the D. It's DD. But it's called the Ruling Class Podcast. So I just saw an interview he did with her, and she has some really good stuff. I think I even reposted one of the comments. She said, "Do it hard." On the Facebook page.
She works at the Arts Council.
Okay.
So she does the program, and I think that's her title, like programming manager or something along those lines.
Okay.
She's been doing that for about a year now, I think.
Okay.
And so, and see, back then, I was just somebody just trying to be on the roster with the Arts Council, and just being one of the artists on the roster. And I actually won an award for that book from them before she was ever involved in the Arts Council.
Okay.
It was the Arkansas Fellowship Award for 2019. So Drika now works there.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like, you know, I'm like at least one generation ahead of her.
Mm-hmm.
And I just kind of feel like as we progress, it just gets better and better, you know.
Mm-hmm.
She was just somebody like back then, she was in high school and she used to come up to the poetry scene and be like, oh, Coffy,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and then all of a sudden she just blossoms into this major force out here. And
so she was planting her seeds and you were just kind of pouring into her and stuff like that. So,
and not just me, but there, you know, she had a couple other connections on the scene too.
Mm-hmm.
But I just remember her being a young woman there and a young lady there, and Chris James, the one that owns a House of Art.
Okay.
He, you know, in North Little Rock, he would come around and look, he created a whole poetry venue, you know. And he was, you know, a little younger than I was, and he came along after we had already kind of been established out here for a while. And so yeah, it's thriving, and it's better and greater than we could have imagined.
I just noticed the MEdusa is MEdusa. I just noticed that. That's cool.
Trying to be creative.
You did good.